Derek Handley here with Kostoff and Company at Nova Home Loans, and it's coffee talk time with my friend Sam Newman from Keller Williams. We thought we'd bring in a realtor expert on what's happening out there and how to make a deal even better for both parties in this crazy time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a tough time right now because sellers are used to a certain thing the last few years. They are used to putting it on the market and getting multiple offers and selling it for over ask at the first weekend. If you're working with a good real estate professional, they should be educating you on where the market is, and that typically is not happening anymore. Not to say it's not going to happen at all. It depends on a number of factors, but for the most part, that's not the expectation anymore. So what do we do? And on the other side, as a buyer, there's a real challenge with affordability because you and I were talking off camera. Interest rates have gone up so much, but home prices really haven't come down very much. So
right.
Especially on the monthly payment front, that's where it can be a challenge.
Right, and that's why you have professionals on your team to talk about what's important to you as a buyer, right?
Yeah.
Is it a monthly payment?
Yeah.
Is it the interest rate?
Right.
Is it cash,
yeah.
right? Because a lot of people don't have that extra $100,000 just laying around all willy-nilly to put down on a house.
Right.
So, kind of what tools are you using to put deals together? Is it closing quickly?
Yeah.
Is it extra cash down? I mean, what are you seeing that sellers really like to get a contract accepted?
Yes. Right now, what sellers want is a contract at a reasonable price to buy the house. I mean, it's honestly gotten to that point where they're willing to accept some contingencies where they hadn't been in 2020, 21, early 2022, because that's just the market. And really, that's good for everybody. That's a healthy market where we're able to actually do a deal rather than just this frenzy of offers.
Because it should be good for everybody,
absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
The seller should get a reasonable amount of money for the sale of their property, and the buyer shouldn't have to, 2021, bring an extra $100,000 over asking price to get into a house.
And that's exactly it. And you mentioned cash too. Man, I didn't know how some people had all this cash lying around in 2021 to do for down payment, for appraisal gap, for all that sort of stuff. The nice part is you don't need as much cash anymore. The challenge for buyers, especially first-time home buyers at that lower price point, is the monthly payment because of where interest rates are right now, especially if your credit's not stellar, which is what you need to get the best.
Absolutely.
And so the 2-1 buy down, which I know you guys have talked about on this show before, that's kind of been the big buzz for the last year since rates went up, but it's a great tool to use right now because you get it paid for from the seller. I mean, it's a moderate concession, but if you're making an otherwise strong offer and you can ask for that concession, well, that's going to lower your interest rate by a bunch the first 2 years and really make those monthly payments a lot more palatable. The idea, of course, being at some point there's an opportunity to refi into a more traditional, lower interest rate, 30-year mortgage.
And you're right. Within a couple of years, God willing, or maybe it's the Fed willing, maybe we'll get rates back down to a more palatable area where people can afford to be in that house long term. And save a little bit of money at the same time.
Yeah, and you do have to think down the road too, because we do expect rates to drop to a certain degree in the next couple years. I mean, that would make sense. When it's going to happen, we don't know. But then people will say, well, what if they don't? What if they're even higher after that 2-year period? Well, then you still have a better rate than the current market rate. So, it's not the worst thing in the world.
Right. And the nice thing about seller concessions is you can use that really for anything. Not anything, but almost anything.
Almost anything.
I just did a deal closed last week, and the seller gave $15,000 in concessions. Well, these guys were a little tight on their down payment and closing costs, so we paid all of that. We paid a year of their HOA up front and bought their rate down a quarter point.
Wow.
Right? So all in one fail swoop, and the seller paid for it all.
That's great.
So it was a fantastic win-win.
Yes.
The seller got what they wanted out of the deal, the buyer got a good deal, and financially speaking, it worked really well.
Yeah.
Buyers are different. You never know if they have $200,000 sitting in the bank or if they need a little extra cash to make it work.
Absolutely. But that's, you said we did a deal. That's what we're doing right now. We're doing deals rather than bidding. And so it's a much healthier market for everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
So, if you have any questions about seller concessions, how to use them, what they can be used for, give us a call here at Kostoff and Company. If you need some help on the real estate side, my friend Sam over at Keller Williams, He's a great realtor and he'll take very good care of you. Cheers.